Hey, this is Ashbass. I've got a PG-2 portable guitar effects unit. It's a headphone amplifier made by the company NUX, or NUX, as you may have seen them. It's got several cool features, many more than the earlier version, the PG-1 had. I'm just going to kind of walk through all of them and show you what the little headphone amp here can do for us. First off, we're going to want to get some power on. So we have those switches off to the right. Our first option is simply power. It's running here on 2 AA batteries. If I drop down to another option of power, we get backlight available. And if you're running on batteries, this really may just be eating up your power. So I'm in the habit of not using the backlight. So we'll go back, and there we are. You can also use, if you have one, a 3-volt DC adapter. I'm going to point you here to the manual and note that it says never use an adapter with an output voltage greater than 5 volts DC with a big exclamation point. Well, what happens if you do? Maybe accidentally or on purpose. Well, your PG-2 will stop working. Don't ask me how I know, but I know because my PG-2 stopped working. Now, luckily, the jacks and plugs for a 3-volt DC adapter are a lot smaller than there are for a 9-volt. And if you're going to try to put a 9-volt in there, you're actually going to have to go out of your way to make it work. So more than likely, you shouldn't bump into any problems with it. I picked this little adapter up off eBay. It cost 99 cents and about $2.50 for shipping. Notice the small barrel of the plug. I'm going to go ahead and plug that into the DC input, and it restarts the unit, and I'm back at the starting screen. Next thing we'll need to do is get our guitar plugged in. Now, across the top we have 3 jacks. There's an input jack, a headphone jack, and then an output jack. The output jack is a line level out. It's intended for you to connect the PG-2 to another amplifier. And then that amplifier will send the signal out to whatever speakers or cabinet is connected to. If you want to actually control a speaker or drive a cabinet from the PG-2 itself, what you're going to have to do is use the headphone jack. Now, for example, I have here next to us a 2x12 cab. Here's its plug, which I would normally plug into one of my amplifiers. And what I'm going to want to do is use this plug in the headphone jack. But the problem is the headphone jack is 1/8 of an inch, and this plug is 1/4 of an inch. So at this point, we need to find an adapter. So after looking around, digging in some drawers, I came up with this one. Here's a 1/4 inch in to 1/8 inch out. So I'm going to plug my cabinet plug into that. Looking good. Then I'll plug the whole thing into the headphone jack up at the top. And do we get sound? Yes, we do. So this works, but look how big and clunky that contraption is. So I wanted to come up with a different solution that would still get me access to my cabinet, but wouldn't put as much stress on that headphone jack. So we'll go ahead and take all this off. I got an old pair of dead headphones, didn't work anymore, and I cut about 1.5 feet maybe, or 1 foot of its cable off, leaving me just its plug. So this is a headphone plug, and I'm going to plug it into my headphone jack. And then the other end of the plug, I used a barrel jack, connected the wires from the plug to the barrel jack, then just wrapped a whole bunch of shrink wrap around it so that it would be protected. Now this, I can now have my 1/4 inch plug go into, and I don't have to worry about any undue stress or strain on my headphone jack. Our third button across the bottom here is your metronome/tuner button. This is our metronome setup. I'm going to go ahead and press it a second time. We can use the tap button to change our tempo. Slower, faster, I'll press the third time, and that takes me into tuner mode. We'll press another, and it actually takes me back to the metronome again. So the way to get out of this loop of metronome tuner is you have to press the presets button. That takes you back to where you were before. I'll draw your attention now to the top row of items we have up here. We have 3 switch-based controls. The first one here is your amp mode. There's clean, then blues, and then rock. Clean is clean, blues has a little bit of grit built into it, and rock can actually get kind of high gain sounding. Our next one over here is a modulation. We have chorus, we have flanger, and we have tremolo. And this knob lets us change the rate of those 3 modulations. Now, last over here we have an ambience group. The first item is delay, the middle item is room for reverb, and the last item is spring, again, for reverb. There are 9 presets. I'll give you a little sample of what the thing sounds like, and then I'll take you into actually modifying individual controls, making things sound the way you want them to sound. Now, as far as the presets go, all of these options that I just mentioned are disabled. When you're in a preset, all you can change is the master volume of it. If you want to play and customize the knobs on the fly, you're going to want to not be in preset mode, but rather be in edit mode. And well, here we go. I'm going to start off with presets. I'm now in preset number 1. And according to our documentation, this one's called Ultra Clean. It uses the clean amp type, chorus, and a little bit of room reverb. And here's what that sounds like. Number 2 is called Heavy Rock. This one is the rock amp type, no modulation, no ambience key. Number 3 is called 70s Blues. This uses the blues amp type, and again, no modulation and no ambience. Let's look at number 4. This one's called Cool Trim. It's based on clean, and it has tremolo with a little bit of spring reverb. Next. Number 5 is called Lead Solo. It's based on the blues, and we have a little bit of delay action. Number 6 is Crunch. This one's got the rock amp type with a little bit of spring delay. Number 7 is called Echo Clean. Uses delay on the clean amp type. is called Jet Blues. And we'll see if you can figure out what modulation is going on with this one. It's a little over the top flanger for me. We'll look at number 9. And this one's called Space Rock. It uses the rock amp type with a little bit of room reverb. Again, if we keep on going, we'll enter the user banks. Now, unless you've written over them, each user bank is right now just a copy of the preset with the same number. To get out of presets entirely, you press the presets button. Now we're back to edit. So now what we'll do is take a look at some of these controls across the top, make some changes, see how those changes affect what we're actually doing. On the start, I'm talking about the Alt button. The way that PG-2 is set up, you actually have full equalization capabilities. Even though we don't see just immediately up here bass, middle, high, treble, etc., whatever. What we do see is that the Alt kind of has a little gray box around it. When I turn it on, I get Alt in my display, and each one of these knobs now is using its gray box control. So this one has become level. This one has become bass. This one has become middle. And this one has become treble. I'm going to change the level. We'll put it about 75%. I'll set my bass to about a 5. And my middle, I'll kick up a little higher to maybe a 6, and my treble I'll kick up to about a 6 as well. Now, does that sound? Let's try adding a ton more bass. Let's take all the mids out. Let's put the treble all the way to the top. Alright, so back we're here with what I had originally. Sounds pretty good. Now I'm going to turn off Alt. And the settings that I just made for level, bass, mid, and treble are now set. They're stored. So no matter what else I do to the buttons, those settings aren't going to change until I go in and change them myself. So now these are back to gain, master volume, modulation, and ambience. Now, something let's look at that's a little strange, might take some getting used to. Modulation. It's on chorus right now, and this is chorus level 6, it appears. But listen. There's no chorus in there. Now that's because when I switched back to edit mode, the PG-2, you can't automatically, like a robot, turn this button back to whatever you had previously. So as long as I don't move this button, or don't tell the PG-2 that I want a different sound, I'm not going to have any chorus. But here, if I move it just a little bit, that slight movement has told the PG-2 that I am now editing that control. So now let's hear what our chorus sounds like. So I'll go ahead and turn this all the way off. I'm going to go ahead and turn ambience all the way to 0 as well. Make sure we're in clean. Now let's turn gain all the way up. a little more volume out of that. I'm going to go into the Alt menu, and I just have to remember that my level was previously set here at 3 o'clock. Now I'm going to set the level as high as it can go. I'll press Alt to get myself out of there and see if we have a little more volume on tap. Let's crank that master up. Now let's move over to blues. I'm going to leave the settings at what I had them as before, where I maxed out on level, gain, and master. And drop the gain back a little bit on that and see what we get. Let's move over to the rock setting. So this one's our kind of high gain sound. Very over the top. Let's crank the gain on that one. So that's a nice one. Of course, changing around the EQ of the amp is going to give us different sounds. They're really highlighted or heightened when you're in the rock mode. I'm going to switch back to clean so we can hear the differences between the modulations and the ambience effects. So here I am back in clean. And let's take a look at our mods here. Chorus is the first one. That's already selected. And we've had it at 0. So let's go ahead and turn it up to 10. See how wet this can get. Let's go back to 5. Let's come back to 9 o'clock. And zero it back out before we look at our next one, which is flanger. So I'll pop that switch into the middle, and then we'll go to 10 again. Not very flangerish. Let's drop back to about a 5. Let's go up a bit. We'll zero that back out, and we'll take a look at tremolo. And then all the way to 10. Let's go to 5. Now the last set of settings we'll look at is the ambient set. Delay, room, and then spring. Delay is the selected ambience. We'll go all the way to max. Now what the knob here does for us is simply control decay, or how many notes get repeated. Back to 5. 3. Now the delay is special. It's kind of like the metronome was at the beginning. While that knob does control how many repeats we get, the tap button is going to control the time of our delay. So I'm going to play with the tap button here. Pretty slow. Let's get it a little faster. Alright, our next one is room, which is really just a reverb. We'll go to totally wet. Let's take it back to about 5. Let's go over to spring, last of our settings, and we'll go all the way to 10. Drop it down to 5. And there you have it. Happy playing.